after where Monsterracer is at the moment.
Oh, are we starting?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Okay, hello everyone. Hope you have been having a good time with the marathon as it's coming close to the end. This is FTL, as Skip announced. We're going to be playing the NGB as that's what won the bid war on hard mode. So, without further ado, let's hop right into it.
Didn't give a countdown to let Skip know when to start.
Oh, well, you can start now. I haven't really done anything. Okay. So, yeah.
As a side note, we are getting a lot of echo on your end. I'm hearing duplicates of you, so you might have to mute the stream on your end.
No, I don't have the stream open. Okay. Anyway, so in FTL, well, every sector is randomized, so random stuff in it, and it has a certain amount of beacons. Beacons might have an event, or it might have a fight in it. Oh, the audios, that's why. So I wasn't muted on Discord, but I was muted on the stream. Next. Oh, hang on. Bear with me. So my hotkey for muting the audio happens to be the same hotkey as selecting one of my weapons, which is a problem. So I don't stream FTL, so that's never cropped up before. So hang on, bear with me here. Edit hotkeys. Yeah, I've mute on 1 and unmute on 2, which is exactly what happened where my weapon setup is. Anyway,
that's an interesting button to have as a mute, not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, I don't play games where I need to use the number keys. Anyway. So, technical issues aside.
So, what we'll go ahead and discuss to start here is, since I assume that part of that got mixed up, the NGB is notorious in the FTL community for being one of the more annoying ships to start with.
Yeah, this is because, first of all, you start with 1 crew member. That's 1. So if that person dies, then your run's over and you have to restart. Also, it starts... Go on.
I'm sorry.
Also, it starts with weapons that can only break 1 shield layer, so if you don't get any extra weapons, then as soon as you go into Sector 2, there's a chance you might find a ship you just can't defeat.
Yeah, it's not a... Casually, I struggled with this ship. Being only... Considering that a lot of FTL is dealing with how can you strip the shields of the enemy ship? How can you deal damage to specific weapons to be able to mitigate the damage that they're going to be firing back at you? It's being only able to strip a single bubble of shields from the outset. It's tough, especially since the heavy laser 1, it's not a bad weapon. But the heavy ion, its shot speed is much slower than the heavy laser, so you have to learn rather quickly how the timing works in order to get through.
Yeah, so for each heavy ion hit, the heavy laser goes just under hits just under twice. And the problem with only being able to deplete 1 shield is that if either one of your shots misses, you just don't do any damage because because it misses, so it doesn't hit the enemy.
One of the other things is that
Oh, a free weapon, that's a good start.
one of the big mechanics with FTL is the dodge percent. You'll note in the top left corner a little engine icon and a 10% next to it. What this means is that for every shot that is fired at us, we have a 10% chance of that shot not hitting us. That's based off of how much engine and how skilled our pilot is at dodging stuff. That'll go up over the course of the run.
So what's happened here is that...
The thing is that our enemy, in true roguelike fashion, has the same...
has the same
rules, so to speak. They also have a dodge percent. We don't know what it is off the top of our heads. If we were able to get a little bit of... Well, we don't start with sensors, but if we get sensors and we upgrade the sensors to a ludicrously high level, we'll be able to tell how many engines and such the enemy has, and that'll give us a good indication of how much dodge percent they might have. That, or as we shoot them and they just dodge everything, that'll also tell us that, wow, they have a lot of dodge.
Yeah. So the first upgrade is typically getting shields to level 2, as that protects you from a lot of ships, because you can just dodge one extra, well, not quite dodge, but mitigate one extra shot.
That's actually a really big thing, because most of the enemy loadouts for their weapons, most of them are countered by having 2 bubbles of shields. So whether you're playing on easy, normal, hard, or some strange mod of difficulty that doesn't exist, getting 2 shield bubbles will protect you from most of the... What's a good way to put it? There's one word that I half want to say, but wouldn't be appropriate for stream. It will protect you from most of the stuff that Sector 1 will throw at you.
Yep. So anyway, this particular event gives me every so often a fire appears in your ship, and it does some hull damage. Which means that usually you just want to get the hell out of there as fast as you can. Another thing with the NGB is that it starts with 1 engine, which is the lowest amount. And so it takes a while to get out. As you can see, there's another solar flare happened.
Yeah. So we did already get a new weapon. It's a charge ion, though, so it's not that much better than the heavy ion, but it's enough.
It's about twice as fast, which means that missing is not as bad as it sometimes can be.
Skip was joking with us when we were doing the setup that there should be a ion-only, no drones category for this ship, and yeah, no. We might be able to do that if we get enough ions, but no, that's a bad idea.
Okay, so I just got a new crew member, which is huge, frankly, because now he can actually do something instead of just
have people.
Yeah, instead of just
actually do things,
being able to have someone piloting and that's just about it. We can now have someone manning weapons to make them go 10% faster, or engines to get 5% more dodge.
Which 5% doesn't sound like a ton when it comes to dodge percentage, but it's actually a pretty big boost.
Now, this is one of the more trolley quest locations, because I can only get there by going to the exit first, and you don't want to jump to the same beacon twice, because if the second time you jump to a beacon, it has nothing in it.
Okay. So to answer your question, Teun X Goku, for how fun is this game casually? It's a. This is the game that introduced me to roguelikes, personally. Uh, so I have a ton of respect and enjoyment out of this game over the years. It's been out for last week, I believe, was its 7th anniversary of being released. That said, FTL doesn't just stand for faster than light; it also stands for fun to lose.
Yeah, the- because even if you lose, it's the type of game where you can lose, but you're still raring to go back into the game even after you lose.
I mean, speak for yourself. It's been a while since I've started the game up myself because the RNG is very, very unforgiving.
Yeah,
This is a game that, although skill will help you a ton with knowing, okay, I need to get this upgrade next, or this is the things that I need to target on the enemy ships. For me, there can be a time where the game just really throws a curveball at you, and it's like, well, all right.
very occasionally the game sometimes decides that it wants to screw you over, like when when you have two hull left and it doesn't and decides, well, you're not going to get a store, then you're not going to be able to repair for the next 5 jumps or so ever. Then it can get quite tilting sometimes, but other than that, it's a fun game.
Long range scanners, yes.
Now, this is arguably the best augment in the game because it lets you see what kind of stuff is on a beacon. So this has a ship in it, and it has a pulsar, which is another type
Bad.
of elemental hazard that, yeah, in short, it's bad.
Yeah, there is often a joke in the FTL community where long range scanners will win you runs. That's not even a joke. That's just
Yeah.
how good it is. People have done tier lists of how different ships play and which ones are stronger than others, and one of the strongest ships in the game is the Stealth A. The reason being is that it has a really strong set of weapons, cloaking, and long-range scanners. It doesn't start with shields, but that doesn't matter when you're able to dodge shots and kill whatever is shooting at you before it kills it. Well,
Yeah.
in some cases, before it's able to shoot back. But the nice thing, it's a cheap augment. It allows you to focus on fighting enemy ships, which it's a huge boost to
Yeah.
any run.
Because without it, you're just like guessing what's in a beacon. So, whilst with long range scanners you can take all the fights you want and get as much scrap as you can, without long range scanners you might get unlucky and go into, say, 3 empty jumps in a row. And if you're already having trouble and being behind the scrap curve, which is what it's called this game, then, well, it just snowballs out of control, really.
Yeah, someone in one of the discords I'm in made a very good assessment that roguelikes have, in a sense, momentum, sort of a snowball effect, where you want to stay ahead of the curve going forward. I believe we're going to an NG sector, if I saw that correctly.
Yep. So, 10 TNX Goku. I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Just Teon will work.
Yeah. So, the end game of this goal is just to defeat the rebel flagship at the end. So, it's like that's essentially the only goal of the game. However, there are lots of things that you can do in between to make your chances of defeating the flagship a lot better.
One of the nice things about FTL is that the flagship acts in a way as a final exam, but it also is a consistent and always the same final exam. So we know it's going to have 3 phases. We know that the first phase is going to have what weapons it has. It has a very strong ion cannon weapon. It has a very strong 3-shot laser. It has a very strong 3-shot missile, and it has a very strong beam weapon.
In short,
So,
it's very strong.
yeah, fair. So our goal is to find a way for that first phase. How can we defend ourselves against the missiles? How can we defend ourselves against just a really strong weapon setup? As well as hacking. It has a hacking drone that'll shoot at us, so if there's a way that we can dodge that, then great. The second phase is going to be a drone phase, where the more it'll just shoot a bunch of drones surrounding us. Ooh, defense. That's a good pickup, I would say. But your call on that.
Yeah, well, defense is good, but the thing is, we can get a hacking system too. And
Yeah,
hacking is
yeah.
the other thing that in the FTL community, kind of just wins you runs because it can like you can target any system on the enemy ship for a drone part, and let's say you target shields, it will hack their shields and well make just take them down for a period of time, and it can't miss. So it's very powerful.
Hacking, there is also an exploit that you can use with hacking where if your enemy ship has defense drones typically shoot down hacking drones if you fire them at the enemy ship. But as soon as the defense drone fires, you can depower the hacking drone as it's heading towards the enemy ship. The defense drone will miss. You can power back on the hacking drone, and it will hit your target pretty much 100% of the time, which is kind of broken overpowered, especially if you're going for like a beam setup. But you kind of have to resort to that for this difficulty in some sets.
Yeah, it might be quite hard to explain now, but if I get to the flagship, you'll be see it in more detail.
I mean, heck, if we find any enemy ships that have a defense drone, we'll be able to showcase it anyhow.
Yep.
But back to explaining the flagship. The second phase is going to have a bunch of drones that go around us that will try to whittle down our shields and otherwise wreak havoc. So that's going to be a tough phase. And then the third phase is going to be, can we dodge a giant salvo of shots that gets shot about once every, I forget how frequently it shoots out.
Once every like 25-ish, I don't know.
About 20 to 25 seconds, it'll shoot a giant shot of lasers at us to try to remove our shields. So the main goal, and probably the build that most people will try to aim for when they're trying to win a game of hard, is you'll want to have some sort of way to dodge missiles and strong shields. So cloaking or a defense drone are probably our two best bets for missile defense.
What cloaking does is every 20 seconds you can dodge. What do you call it? Every 20 seconds you can increase your evasion by 60% for a period of time. And if your evasion's already at 40% or above, that just makes you like you're guaranteed to dodge every shot. Which is also why it costs the most scrap out of any system, 150.
We would have to aim for 150 scrap to be able to purchase that from a store if it's even open and available. The other big thing is that really we just have to roll with whatever the game gives us. This game has a lot of RNG in what sectors we'll be going through, what things will be available at stores or would be dropping from enemy ships for equipment.
Yeah, there's no going into a game saying, I want to use these weapons for this run, because sometimes the game doesn't give you that weapon, and you have to make do with something else.
I would say our short-term goal right now is to find a way to be able to pierce two shields. We've got the charge ion, which will be sufficient enough for that, but we want to be able to find something else that will be able to deal a little bit more damage to shields.
Which is what hacking does, essentially, but hacking takes a drone part every time you use it, so drone parts are here. and if you don't have any drone parts, then you just flat out can't use hacking.
Yeah, NGB is kind of unique out of the NG ships in that we don't start with a ton of drone parts. So, yeah. Part of that is because the drones that this ship starts with are drones that are inside the ship. It also starts with the drone reactor booster, which causes the drones to move faster. But now that we have an extra crew member and we needed the scrap anyways, the drone reactor booster got sold for, I think, 25 scrap.
Yep. And so anyway, we
Hey.
just got the thing we were looking for, which is a way to pierce more shields.
Indeed, and a hull laser one
Yeah.
has a special effect where if we target a room that doesn't have any systems, it will do double damage, which is a shame because we'll probably end up using it just as a standard burst laser Mark 1, but with a slower cooldown.
So this is an example where a hull laser 1 isn't the best weapon in the game, but since we got it for free, I'm not going to say no to a free weapon, even if it's like not a burst laser 2, which does 3 shots for 2 power.
Alright, we're moving on to a rebel-controlled sector here. There's 3 different types of sectors that you'll see over the course of an FTL run. There's civilian, hostile, and nebula, being green, red, and purple respectively. I would say that if you want to get a lot of scrap, but then a hostile sector is probably for the best because there's going to be more ship fights. If you're trying to find a particular store or just need to find a way to get more hull back, civilian sector is probably the safest. And nebula is really only worth it if you have long-range scanners or a slug. Slugs are like humans. They're just better in every way.
Well, humans are basically the boring race of the game. They have no special abilities except they learn skills 20% faster. Which, while is better than nothing, is still not very good.
Yeah, it's humans are common and uninteresting, but
yeah, it's literally their description, actually.
That's their joke nowadays.
Anyway. So this is some of the parts where the game can get frustrating, because I was just missing their weapons and couldn't hit them at all, whilst they were hitting everything on my ship.
Yeah, that's one of the things you'll notice with rebel-controlled sectors is that there's going to be a lot of these AI ships, either auto scouts or other AI-controlled ships. There's no crew on these ships, and there's no O2 on them either, meaning that most of their power goes straight into piloting more engines, meaning that these annoying little buggers just don't go down quickly because they dodge everything.
See that? Missed.
On the bright side, their weapon system is not only hacked but also damaged, so there's less chance that they'll be able to hit us because we can get the timing just right.
Although if I miss them constantly, then it doesn't tend to go too well.
Yeah, this is where having some extra shots is pretty useful.
Yeah, right now I only have 3 shots, and I need all of them to hit in order to damage the enemy ship. Oh, there we go, they missed once. Yeah.
This is not a popular speedrun game. And in fact, this is more of a showcase than a speedrun, because people don't speedrun this game on hard because even getting a victory on hard is an absolute nightmare. If you're not... If you haven't played like a stupid number of hours or don't have a understanding of what you're doing.
Anyway, I'm probably I'm probably just gonna bail on this fight now because unless the next volley of shots hits, because the ship game just isn't letting me hit their weapons, which is a problem when you want to kill them before they kill you. Yeah, so I'm just gonna bail. You can run, but you don't get any rewards for hitting the ship. Killing the ship, rather.
Yeah. And it's a matter of choosing your battles wisely in these cases. But it's not a game that's popular to speedrun, no. It's because of how rough the RNG can be. If people do speedrun the game, they will speedrun it on easy and will pick certain ships that don't have a lot of that are either very RNG heavy but a lot of killing potential, or something that's a lot more consistent. So, as an example, the people that have the speedrun records for FTL on easy, just beating the game, one of them uses the stealth B and hopes and prayed for finding a pre-igniter in one of the first couple of fights.
Yeah.
The other person uses the Zoltan A because it's a really strong set of starting equipment, and Zoltan Shields allows you to basically not worry as much about shields early and late game.
Yeah, there's Stealth B is notorious as one of the worst ships in the game because it starts with no shields and its only weapon takes 25 seconds to fire. So if your weapon...
But it hits hard.
Yep.
But yeah, what I think is more common with FTL is getting win streaks. There are a couple of people in the FTL community that have played the game so frequently and are so good at the game that they're able to play the game on hard without pausing.
Yeah.
And do so, and win pretty consistently too.
Yeah, there was someone recently who managed to get a win with every ship in the game in a row, which is really impressive.
Yeah. So the pre-igniter actually makes it so that the weapon can fire the moment that you start the fight. So it doesn't increase how frequently you can fire it, but you can use it the moment that you start the fight, meaning that in a speedrun sense, you're one-shotting every single ship that you're fighting. Really, as soon as you hit it, making it go a lot faster. It's just the game can be annoying. Getting that is rare. It's also one of the most expensive augments that you can pick up.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we finally hit the ship enough times because it took forever to die.
On the bright side, this one couldn't hurt us like the last one could, so we could actually spend some time.
So I was willing to spend a lot of time killing the ship. With the other one, it would have just whittled my hull down whilst I was doing that.
Could have waited until it ran out of missiles, but that's not fun.
Yeah. This ship has a lot of fights, but they're all past the exit beacon, which is not what you want because if you get to the exit beacon after taking too many jumps, the rebels catch up to you, and they have really powerful ships you don't want to have to fight.
Indeed. Especially on harder difficulties. So yeah, if anybody has any further questions about FTL, feel free to ask them, and we will try our best to answer them. From here, I think our main goal is we have a decently powerful set of weapons at this point. Between the Charge Ion being not a great weapon, but it's passable, and then the Heavy Laser being a good weapon. With its extra damage and such.
And that is a ship, that's a very powerful ship. Because it has 3 heavy lasers that each do, 2 damage to me.
Ah, but he doesn't have shields.
Yeah, because since he has
So
so
that'll be
much
useful.
power into his weapons that he doesn't have shields. However, that's what happens when he hits me. He does a whole lot of damage.
Yay. So the way that each system on the ship has a certain amount of power that needs to be put into it in order to function, and that's put in by the reactor power. You can see on the far left there's sort of these bars that then connect to the rest of the systems. That's your power, and you can reassign the power to different systems at will at any time you'd like. You need so You can increase the power to shields, meaning that you get more shields. You can get more power into engines, meaning that you're able to dodge more shots. Power into the med bay, meaning you're able to actually heal your crew if they're in the room. Power
Yeah.
to O2.
Yeah, the energy is necessary for weapons. So you see here, this charge ion here has two power bars, and you need two of the reactor power to power it.
Exactly. So as long as there's power to that system, those weapons will start to charge as well, which that helps a lot with trying to, kill enemy ships. So there's certain weapons that are better than others based off of how much damage they can do and how powerful it works. So the crew, you'll notice above the weapons as well as above the piloting on the right for subsystems that there's a nice little crew member symbol with stars above their heads. That's indicating how much skill the crew has in running that particular system. So because we've been able to shoot so frequently, the crew member that's in weapons right now is at its most powerful. He's gotten to the most useful level in weapons shooting smithing thing.
Yeah.
This means that the cooldown for shooting is a little bit faster. I forget the exact percentage for it.
Yeah, it says here it's 20% faster.
Oh, there we go.
As opposed to 10% faster if he wasn't skilled there.
Mm-hmm. So that means that if a weapon takes 10 seconds to charge before it's able to fire, having him in there means that it only takes 8 seconds to fire, which can help quite a bit. It's the same thing for engines and piloting, where the more skill that they have with dodging, the more dodge percent that you'll be able to get. You'll notice that now we have 12% dodge instead of the 10% dodge that we had earlier, because our pilot has been able to dodge some stuff.
However, there's now an intruder in the piloting, which is a bit inconvenient because he makes it so
no more dodge.
Yeah, he makes it so as soon as my NG leaves the piloting, there will be no dodge at all. And he also creates a breach here, taking away all the oxygen. And if there's no oxygen in a room, non-Lanius crew members will just take damage.
Yep. Got a boarding drone. Always fun. But yeah, dodge will be increased by either piloting, engines, or cloaking if it's enabled. And there are certain percentages that will increase over time as those get... Or not over time. There are certain percentages based off of how powerful the system is and how much power is put into it, as well as how much how skilled your crew is in those certain systems. There's one person that frequently commented in the FTL subreddit back in the day. His username was Upgrade Your Engines, because it's underrated how powerful engines can be if you get those upgraded.
Yeah, so every year extra power in engines is 5% extra dodge, and while that isn't that much on its own, if you have 5 power, that's 25% extra dodge, which is now pretty relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Can I hop in here with a donation?
Sure.
Go for it.
So we have a $3 donation from Aruti, I think I'm saying that name right, saying, suffer, and also have fun. And that $3 went towards the bid war for Wayward Souls, which is going to be our last one of the day. They put that towards Rogue and Warrior. So far, we have Spell Sword and Mage at $15, Rogue and Mage at $2, Rogue and Warrior at $3. So if you have a preference for that one, get your donations in for that bid war.
Indeed. So FTL, there are different communities for FTL, both on. There is a forum that on Subset Games' website that people have been able to upload a lot of mods for the game as well over the years. There's also a Discord server as well as a subreddit. So there's definitely no shortage of FTL communities out there to.
Now here's an augment that's pretty highly debated, the scrap recovery arm. So it gives you 10% more scrap, but it costs 50. So to break even, you would have to get 500 scrap.
Which, yeah, it's a good thing to get if it's just a random drop, but purchasing it from a store is...
It's questionable, but like I'm gonna do it because either the run tends to crash and burn from losing 50 scrap, or it goes way ahead of the curve because you're getting so much extra scrap. So, yeah. It's basically a very high risk, high reward play.
Which I guess is a good fit for the marathon.
Now what I'm doing here is first manning the doors so that it takes some... Because there are intruders on the ship, is to man the doors so they have to break down the doors in order to get to any other part. And then I'm venting the rooms so that they don't have oxygen in them.
It's surprising how effective that can be. Now that said, there is ASB, so even though there's still enemy on the ship, I would definitely run.
Yeah, it's exactly what I did.
I'm a little bit delayed with the stream, so I apologize for that.
Yeah. Ah, I tapped out by accident. So yeah, I'm just opening all the doors on the ship, to be honest.
Oh, if only there was an anti-personnel drone still left on the ship, but...
Yeah.
That'd be risky, to say the least.
The thing with it is that I had to sell that in order to get hacking, and hacking is one of the best subsystems in the game. I need that taken care of now.
This is a ship where boarding is pretty tough. If an enemy boards you with, especially if you're still early on with only the NG, that can definitely lead to the end of the run if you're not careful.
Luckily, I've gotten 2 free extra crew members from random events, which makes them still a bit terrifying, but less than they would be.
Indeed. I wouldn't go... I would say no, don't count on finding the Crystal crew member on this run. As a bit of a anecdote from my own playthroughs of FTL, it took me, with a little bit of help from someone else taking a look at the save file in a save file editor, I think about 25 to 35 attempts to actually have a run where I would even have the chance to get through to the secret crystal pilots and the secret crystal sector. It is not something that is very common. And part of the reason why to unlock that ship casually, I would say it's better to get a win with all Type A and Type B ships instead of trying to go for that quest. That got added in when the Advanced Edition content update was put in a few years after the game released, which made it so that people could actually play the Crystal Ship instead of having to rely on very, very unlucky RNG. Speaking of very unlucky RNG...
The ship nearly just ran away from me, which would have been bad, as I don't get to
Yeah,
kill it.
you don't want enemies to escape.
Because if the enemies are like, if this is a rebel ship as it is, then it will double the rebel fleet's monitoring of me, which I'll show on the minimap later, because they now know where I am.
Yeah. But Skip has a very good point where if you have no idea what this crystal pod is and what to do with it, you have no idea what to do, and this is definitely one of those games where doing a little bit of research into knowing what does what in the game actually does a huge amount to help you know what to do.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you're also
the-
not particularly at risk of spoilers because it's not a very story-based game. The story of this game is basically you're given a ship, you have to defeat the enemies at the end, and that's it.
it's lore on a shoestring, certainly. There's bits and pieces of the lore, but it's a Captain Picard simulator. Have fun. I would definitely say also if you're looking to get into doing any sort of live streaming, this is probably one of the easier games to do live streaming with. Uh, it's not speed running, of course, but just playing the game casually on Twitch or YouTube or Mixer. So it's what it helps with, because there's a lot of dead time in the game a bit. It allows you to connect with the community and with chat and such.
Yeah. Like, usually, if you, like, I don't know, launch into any random FTL stream, there's a good chance that the thing they're talking about has nothing to do with FTL. It's just a chill game to stream, really.
Until giant alien spiders eats one of your crew members, but yeah, to answer your question there, Polish, it's the Crystal Pod quest it's notorious for being very RNG and being just not fun. Really cool if you're able to pull it off, but like very rare that you'll end up getting it. Because not only do you have to find the thing, but you also have to go to either an NG or Zoltan controlled sector and find the Zoltan research facility and say, hey, can you do anything with this? And then you need to find the rock homeworlds, which will then take you to the crystal sector. It's the number of things that have to go right in order to find it is
Yeah.
it's an absolute nightmare.
Like, I think someone was doing the math, and it's about 5% chance to have the chance of getting, like, just to have the sectors in the correct order, not even the events.
That seems high. It's got to be lower than that.
Yeah.
It can't be 5%. That seems too high.
It's, yeah. Like, when 5% for an event is high, then. Yeah.
It's definitely a chain of events that you really have to get lucky to spot and find. So at this point for you, Monsterracer, what's sort of the next big goal for upgrades or equipment that you're looking for?
For upgrades, I'm probably looking for either another system, so like cloaking ideally, because you can have a maximum of 8 systems and I have 7. Or I'm looking for a really good weapon. Like, these weapons all here are decent, but none of them are going to win me the game, probably, on their own.
That's very true. Yeah. So the way that the shields work, Teon, is that for every 2 bars of power, you get an extra you get an extra layer of shields. For the player, you can upgrade it a maximum of 8 power, meaning of a total of 4 layers of shields. There are some enemy ships, particularly the cheaty slugs, where they can get at some of the later sectors a 5th layer of shields, which is something that the player can't get, and it's sad.
It's extremely rare though. Like I have 150 hours, and I think I've seen it twice. So
Yeah, it happens more frequently on hard, and it happens more frequently on slug ships because slug ships are cheating.
there's something in the code about them that
They-
it gives them a higher chance of having that happen.
Oh yeah, it's in the code. A maximum of 5 for some slug ships. It's cheating.
Oh yeah, even if you could get it, it would be really expensive because the 4th shield layer costs 180 scrap. So
And that doesn't even take into consideration the power that you have to put into it in order to actually get it.
yeah.
It's
So anyway, meanwhile, I managed to buy a second scrap recovery arm, which is not something that's optimal to do, but it's really fun because now I just get 20% more scrap from every fight.
Hey, cool. I wish you the best of luck, Taeun, for playing FTL. It's not an easy game. I would definitely 100% recommend playing on easy for your first few runs because it'll help a lot with learning the what the ships do. There's absolutely no shame in playing on easy.
Yeah,
But I would definitely recommend once you get a victory on easy to graduate to normal, since that'll help teach you some good tactics as well to survive on.
yeah, the game says the difficulties are easy, normal, and hard. They are actually hard, very hard, and stupidly hard.
It's doable, but the RNG is... May the RNG be in your favor. I will say though, this is going rather smooth. With a lot of ships, once you get to and past the 3rd sector, and you are in a decent position, it's rare that you'll end up hitting a major roadblock late game that'll kill you outright. The 3rd sector is kind of the first big wall when you're trying to figure out
Yeah.
what build you're going towards.
Again, it's just like a huge snowball effect. If you go into the 3rd sector and you're really ahead, then you'll just take no damage. You won't have to spend any money on repairs, and so you have more money to get your ship better. But on the other hand, if you go into the 3rd sector really struggling and you have to run away from ships, then you're losing scrap, effectively.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to do the thing where I vent the entire ship and fight in the medbay now.
Yeah. To answer your question, Polish, about what particular crew you're looking for, with the NGB, any and all.
Yeah, any crew is better than no, better than the one crew
Considering that
you
you
have.
start with only a single NG crew member is not necessarily great. If you're going to die in Sector 1 with the NGB, it's going to be because you lost your crew member. So getting extra crew is actually a huge boost to this
Yeah,
this ship. Now, in general, what I would recommend is that you want a good pilot for a good pilot crew member, which is either a slug or a rock, because a slug crew member is going to be immune to mind control, which is a system that enemy ships can have and use against you. And having a slug in piloting is probably one of the better ones. You can also get a rock crew member in piloting, which is going to be useful because it's not like the Rockman's going to move that much, so his low speed is not going to be as much of a hindrance there. And because he's also fireproof, he'll be able to put out fires in piloting rather quickly. As far as others, you probably want to have a crew member that is good at... I would say having maybe one NG and one Mantis would probably be good as well. The NG being probably your repair person, which is really useful. And then the Mantis is really good against boarders because of the higher attack. Really, a mix is probably the best.
Yeah.
You don't want too much of a single crew member, but you also don't want...
you don't want like to have nothing essentially.
Yeah. This game has a lot of systems put together that really keeps it interesting, even 7 years on.
Oh yeah, it's the 7th anniversary recently.
Yeah, about last week, I believe. I am surprised that this ship hasn't run away yet, not gonna lie.
Yeah, well, a ship tries to run away, but if you destroy their engines, they can't run away, which is what happened there. It's also why I took so much damage, because I couldn't focus their weapons, I was too busy focusing their engines.
So, what's really interesting with how the systems of this game really fit together well. One of the really neat things that you'll notice rarely occur is that if an enemy ship has a drone flying around your ship, and you just so happen to have that enemy drone line up with one of your weapons, you can shoot down the enemy's drone. It is so rare to happen, but when it happens, it's so satisfying.
Unless, of course, it happens when you've just, like... when, like, you need that shot to hit the enemy hull, and it just hits their drone instead.
That is very true. But the game systems connect really well, and it's...
Oh yeah, I just did it there. My iron hit his drone, so it's now... it's now spinning around in circles.
Sometimes with this game, you say it's going to happen, and then it happens.
And now it's back online.
Like, there's so many things that the community has been able to learn about how the game plays over time, such as with the hacking drone exploit, being able to bypass defense drones with it. There's one other fun trick that you can use with mind control and teleporter, which are two systems that we won't be seeing in this run except on enemy ships. But if you mind control an enemy, and then you can teleport him back onto your ship, because he's technically friendly while during that time he's being mind controlled.
And then when he stops being mind controlled, you just kill him.
Yeah. Of course, while he's mind controlled, he'll just go man a system for you, which is fun. Like, this game has so much replay value, but it's a really punishing game if you're having trouble. Speaking of having trouble, we need to find a store and get some hull.
Which we have. Luckily.
Good.
Yeah.
You want to keep your hull... One of the big pieces of advice I would say for new players is to keep your hull at roughly just as about to go from yellow to green, so 20 to 22 hull points. The main reason for that is that you'll find a lot of the time enemy, events that will heal your ship.
There we go, cloaking.
5 or 10 hit points, which would be completely wasted if you don't get it. Ooh, and a burst laser too.
Yep, that was a really good shot, because now I have basically what I need to win. A burst laser 2 and our final system. But the other thing with that is now we have not much scrap left and we might just die.
I would definitely sell one of the scrap recovery arms and repair at this point, I would say. That would be my...
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's what we should do, but I like scrap.
Okay.
I think
we're going the aggressive route.
Yeah. Anyway.
There will be at least one other ship in this sector, certainly. So, I don't know if I would say that this is the hardest ship to start off with. There are some other ships that are a lot tougher than even this one is. This ship just has the notoriety in the community for being one of the worst. I would say that some of the worst ships that you can have are either Stealth B and Stealth C are really tough. Stealth B being really, really hard to get out of Sector 1 if you aren't able to survive getting hit in the weapon system. I would also say that it's really tough with Stealth C, because that ship doesn't start with shields.
And
Or
it doesn't,
cloaking?
Yeah, no cloaking.
Yeah, you can choose. There are 28 different ships that you can start out as. There is Type A and Type B for all of the ships, and Type C for most of the ships. You unlock each of those ships based off of the achievements system in the game. So, to unlock the Type B for, say, the NG class of cruiser, you can end up... you need to complete 2 of the 3 ship-based achievements. So either having a bunch of drones out at once, or... it's been too long since I've looked at the achievements, because you get them once and you don't have to touch them again.
We can actually do that now. There's have 3 drones, destroy an enemy without weapons, and have a lot of things ironed.
Yep, so if you get 2 of those 3, you would unlock the Type B class of... or the Type B of this ship. And then to get the Type B, or sorry, the Type C, you just need a win with the Type B. No, I think you just have to get the Sector...
Yeah, you have to get to Sector 8.
You have to get the Sector 8 with the Type B of that class to be able to unlock the Type C. You live with no shield by killing the enemy first before he kills you.
Yeah, also, most of those ships have cloaking, which means that you can periodically make it so the enemies can't hit you.
Which is why the Type C sucks.
Because the Type C does not have cloaking, which is fun.
It starts with a shield drone, which isn't great, but it works.
It's better than no shields, but it's like it's better than nothing, I should say, but it's still not very good.
But each of the ships have their pros and cons, and people have made tier lists for which one's the strongest and which ones are the weakest. That a cursory Google search will direct you towards, I'm sure. But each one has a different starting playstyle. The only downside is that a lot of the time, in order to win, you need to kind of build towards the same build fairly frequently by the time you get to Sector 8.
Like, most of the time you will see someone with, I don't know, a burst laser 2 and hacking, something like that.
And some sort of beam weapon also helps a lot.
Yeah.
But it's especially on hard, with how difficult the game can be, it's rare that you'll see any deviation from what's kind of the go-to meta for the game, sadly. But sometimes you can get some really weird and quirky builds that work.
Sometimes, like, if the game decides to give you some random stuff that synergizes.
I don't think you can cheese a starting ship. You can choose a starting ship. You can't cheese.
I think he did mean choose, but, you know.
he did, but... it's fine. It's just extra hull points. You only need 1.
Health is only a resource. As long as it's above 0, we'll be fine. There's actually a thing where if you kill the flagship boss the same time it kills you, it counts as a win. So that can happen. It hasn't happened to me before, but it's happened to other people I've seen.
Yeah, as long as the enemy dies, that's all that matters.
Well, the other thing is, I'm not sure if... Is there any event in the game that has cheese in it? Like, literal cheese?
No.
Ah.
Sadly not. I'm sure... I'm curious. I am curious. I'm gonna dig and look.
Now you're curious, huh?
With one of the... No, there's not. the with how much. So, as an interesting insight into the game, and specifically with how the game is that a second burst laser too?
Yep. Which is also why I didn't repair up to full. Because I saw another burst laser.
Burst Laser Mark II is one of the most overpowered weapons in the game because it's 3 shots for 2 power, which there's not a lot of weapons in the game that is that effective and that efficient at that. But I was taking a quick look and seeing, and sadly there's not. I was looking to see if there was any ship mods for FTL that were cheese.
Well,
there's not.
you can
There
go make
are
one.
some that are donuts, but none that are cheese. Specifically to explain that, a lot of the fun of FTL, especially over the years, is that there's been a pretty prolific modding community for the game. Yeah, Flak 1? Really? What?
That's not bad.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, why not? Actually, I mean,
heavy laser's good too, not gonna
yes,
lie,
this
but
is hard mode. The game sometimes is nice to you, occasionally. The thing is that the heavy laser is also really good, but
yeah, it's also really good. Yikes.
meh.
But with how prolific the modding community has been, because what's really nice with FTL is that most everything in the game is described by .xml, stored in the game. And sorry, go ahead.
I didn't say anything.
So I feel like I'm trying to explain a topic and I keep stumbling over my words, so I apologize for that. So the main reason that the estimate for 2 is 2 hours and the speedruns are only 20 minutes is that this isn't a speedrun, as sad as it is to say. This is more of a showcase of how you can play relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Assuming that the RNG is in your favor. The reason for the difference in time is because hard is extremely difficult to get a victory win in consistently. Part of the reason for that is on hard, comparing all of the difficulties to normal, on hard, with us being in, I think we're in Sector 5?
6 now.
We're in Sector 6?
Yes, we're in Sector 6.
Okay. I'll take that. But with us being on Sector 6, this is equivalent to being on normal. The ships that we're fighting are what we would see in Sector 7 on normal, and what we would be seeing in Sector 8 on easy.
And meanwhile, the rewards for the fights are what we'd be seeing in Sector 5 on normal, so the rewards are one lower.
You don't get as much scrap, the enemies are tougher, and that actually is a really huge hit to going speedy. The other big thing with speedrunning FTL is that you just go straight for the exit. You don't... If you're playing the game casually, the best piece of advice is to hang around in the sector as long as you physically can before the rebel fleet just catches up with you and shoots you down in a very painful, sorrowful death. But
how to manipulate RNG.
yeah, if you're playing casually, you want to stick around in the sector as long as you can. If you're speedrunning, you want to get to the exit quickly.
Yeah, so it's completely different to what you're playing. What I'm playing now is to try and playing for win rate to try and just win this run.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's like the top speed runs are just resetting. I think you mentioned this earlier. Resetting until you get a weapon pre-igniter, which is not exactly something that's fun to watch.
It's not marathon safe either.
Yeah.
The stealth. I mean, if you think, okay, stealth B, find a pre-igniter for free at an event. Then you basically win by the fact that you get to the end and one-shot almost every single ship you face. You still need to get something to be able to strip shields, but you get hacking and it's a GG, you win. There is also a safer strat by going with the Zoltan A and also looking for Pre-Igniter, but also being able to tank shots a little bit. What are shields? You don't need them.
Uh, I might be wrong, but I think someone has won a run with the Stealth C with no shields and no cloaking. I think it's been done.
Yeah. If you can imagine a challenge run with FTL, someone most likely has done it.
Yeah.
This game has seen a lot.
There are some crazy people in the community.
There's also some crazy mods. That was something that I was going to touch on a little bit. Is that with a game that's been around for 7 years, and there's actually been a lot of mods created for the game to help lengthen the replayability of the game. Most of the files that describe the weapons, the ships, and such and also the events are described as XML files, which is actually really user-friendly, which is actually really modding friendly. There are some things that we can't change that are hard-coded, but there are also some things that it's like, I didn't know that this game could do that. Meaning that there's a lot of variety and
just lots
stuff
of stuff
that
you can do
if you wanted to. Yeah, if you wanted to get into playing mods with this game, people have been able to create overhaul mods, which add a bunch of new weapons, new events. It's not perfect. It's not as flexible as other game modding, but it's actually been probably the thing that's kept FTL in the public eye as long.
So anyway, now's the point where I'm basically just, well, killing everything I see with the 6.
We're on autopilot right now.
So with being on autopilot, can I read another donation?
Sure.
All right. We have Dave donated $30. So thank you so much for that, Dave. $30 saying good luck. And donating also to the bid war for Wayward Souls, donating to Rogue and Mage, which now leads by $32. So we got Rogue and Mage at 32, Spell Sword and Mage at 15, and Rogue and Warrior at 3. So if you have an opinion on that, be sure to donate. Thank you to Dave for the $30, and I hope I said your name correctly as well. So thank you.
Now, the one thing that this ship is kind of weak against is borders, because I still only have 3 crew members. So it's kind of scary.
That's something that's going to be risky with the 3rd phase of the flagship, because the flagship will start boarding us, and that's going to lead to some interesting problems. But we won't be, quote-unquote, training our crew. One strategy that some people utilize playing casually is that if the enemy ship can't physically harm you because you have enough shields or enough dodge, there is something to be said about training your crew so that they are better at dodging and shooting than they would be normally.
But the other thing is that because they only train when you fire a shot of the enemy, like you dodge a shot from the enemy, it takes forever.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing where you some people will boot up Cheat Engine, add in a speed cheat, and just to make it so that it's not painful to watch.
Yeah.
Of course, in a speedrun/showcase, not something we will be using here.
There are actually some funny situations that can occur when, if you accidentally leave your oxygen off while having speed hacks on, it kills your crew rather quickly. So all of a sudden everyone's dead when you're not paying attention.
Yeah. But I would say that the skills are much higher, mainly because we're getting actually close to the end of the game. I think we're still in Sector 6, I believe. No, we're in Sector 7.
Yeah,
we're actually in the second to last sector
we
already.
Just got to Sector 7, yeah.
So, with being on Sector 7, we've been around long enough that we actually have quite a lot of enemy... The enemies have a lot... Bleh. We've been able to dodge a lot, and we've been able to shoot a lot, which helps a lot.
I kind of want to stores. Green sectors tend to have more stores, and that's where you can buy crew members from, which is what I really want.
Yeah, it's much fun as it would be to go to the Rebel stronghold. Hitting that this late in the game
Yeah.
is fun, albeit risky.
Yeah, because now since it's hard, and Sector 7, every ship will have some extra assistance probably, and that makes it a lot more likely stuff as teleporters.
Indeed. I'm surprised that we haven't run out of fuel once in this run. That's something that I typically run into an issue.
Yeah. No, I've just basically bought a lot of stuff. Bought a lot of fuel. Running out of fuel is bad because it means since you can't go anywhere, you just waste a jump doing nothing, hoping someone saves you and gives you some fuel.
If you can't jump around, you can't get scrap. If you can't get scrap, you lose that momentum and you start falling behind.
Yep.
Scrap is the lifeblood of this universe.
That satisfying sound when you just hear bang, 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 everything just hitting.
Pew, 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 pew. Still have to deal with some borders.
Yep. Like, even without an enemy ship to fight, the borders are still scary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now doing a thing where if a crew member is walking through the med bay, he gets healed even if he's not standing in the med bay. So I can heal 3 people at once even though there's only 2 slots in the med bay.
Mm-hmm. It's a really nice trick to utilize with
Oh, that's really good.
with ships.
That's a 4th crew member. Which I should put
And it's a mantis, which is actually really handy for that sort of stuff.
Because mantises are better at fighting. And people good at fighting is what we need.
So you are actually correct on that, Polish table. So one of the things that you can do in the game is that if you kill the enemy crew instead of destroying the whole ship, you get a slightly better reward. Problem is that does not apply to the flagship. The flagship, if you kill all the crew, an AI takes over and starts auto-repairing stuff.
And the AI is actually arguably harder to fight than just the humans because because he repairs everything at the same time.
Indeed. So the ways that you can get extra crew members is either through events or by purchasing them through stores. In this case, we ended up getting Sophia the Mantis via the event here. It was a risky event, mind you.
Yeah, there's
there's a risk that instead of if you side with the fugitive Mantis, there's a chance that it was just a trap.
Yeah. So like, I think it's about 50% that it was a trap, he plants a bomb and we take some damage, and 50% that, well, we get a free Mantis. Which is, given how much scrap we have, we can afford to repair, so a risk I was willing to take. Still haven't seen any stores yet, which is what I'm looking for.
Perhaps they're all at the very back edge of the sector then. Do you know how much more what that we get? That's a good question.
How much more what? Oh, just how much more? How much more game?
Yeah, I don't quite follow what the question is. I apologize for that.
Hey, that's 3 more crew, except they're all really bad at fighting.
I mean, sometimes you just need bodies to throw at the problem.
Yeah.
Also, is that seriously? I mislooked, but
That's some NGs.
oh, how much more scrap do you get? So typically at this point, each fight's going to get you a lot. Oh, for like, okay, I see what you were asking. I don't remember off the top of my head how much more scrap you would get on average for crew kills versus just destroying the ship. Let me quickly Google that, and I will get back to you on that.
I think that might be one thing that it's not particularly obvious, because when you look up events, it'll tell you, like, I don't know, 50% of medium scrap rewards and 50% of high scrap rewards, but it doesn't actually tell you what medium or high is, and what the values for them are.
I believe that's something that is hard coded, but I believe the best way to think of it is that it's on average about 10 to 15% more.
Yeah.
It will always be a better reward, and you'll also have better chance of getting crew members or maybe even just a random piece of equipment that you can utilize.
So now I have a bunch of crew, but 4 of them are NGs, which repair really fast but do half damage, which is...
I mean, if you really think about it, it's like you're running the NGA.
Yeah.
Just with one extra NG than normal. So the way that you would enter the enemy ship is through a crew teleporter, which is not a system that we ended up picking up in this run, partially because we haven't had the crew to be able to really utilize it. And also because NGs are not that great at fighting. They're a peaceful race. They don't like fighting, but they like drones.
The drones tend to at the start of the run, what tends to happen is that the first thing you do when you see a store is sell off all your drones. Which is a testament to how useful they are.
The drone system, sadly, is not as useful as it could be. In the same manner that missiles are not as good as they probably could be, with how expensive they can be to use.
Now that's a meme weapon. We just got a healing burst, which spends a missile to heal everyone in the room.
Yeah, that'll get sold if we find a store.
It's probably one of the worst weapons in the game.
It's
really
the weapon that you start with on the Slug B, but that's because the Slug B doesn't start with a medical unit. So you kind of need something.
Meanwhile, I'm having trouble fighting 2 mantises because my NG are doing like 2 damage to them.
Whereas the mantises are doing like a lot of damage.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing with this ship is that most ships have a 4-man med bay, but this one only has a 2-man, so it's taking a lot longer than it normally does to heal everyone up.
Most of them actually only have a 3-man med bay because the med bay unit itself actually counts as a tile on there. But there are some that have 4. That's a little bit rare. Nice when it has that, though.
Hey, another flag.
Asking an NG to fight is like asking your laptop to use a club. So the third phase of the boss, we just have to kill it faster than it kills us. If it kills all of our crew in the process, I think we'll be okay.
Well, we can't have all of the crew dead. We can still have 1 person alive, but...
Yeah, as long as we've got 1. Oh, he's swapping out for a hull beam. That's actually not a bad pickup.
Yeah, normally I would prefer the heavy laser, but the hull beam is really good on the flagship, because the flagship has a lot of empty rooms we can target.
What's nice about the whole any whole class weapon, a whole weapon, is that it will do extra damage to systemless rooms, which, with how empty that the oh, are we gonna dive?
Yep, we're diving. No. So now we get
That's risky.
Now we get to see an enemy ship that has a lot of stuff in it.
So this is a fight that you don't want to get into if you can avoid it. Rebel diving for fun and profits is not a good thing. Because not only does the enemy ship have boarders that's going to send to you, but you can't, if you try to kill this fellow, he's only going to give you a single piece of fuel. It's not a fight worth fighting. And with the anti-ship battery shooting at you from the background, yeah, if that hits, that's bad. But yeah, I will do my best to explain once we get to the flagship what the priorities are for that.
Yeah, it's a pretty chaotic fight that I have no idea how people do without pausing.
It is very much a final exam of sorts with any ship you're playing on any difficulty, because it throws pretty much every single possible mechanic in the game at you over the course of 3 different fights. And in fact, we've more or less been planning for the flagship fight for this entire run.
Yeah, so the first thing, like, as soon as you get out of Sector 1 and you're not just dying in Sector 1, the next thing you're thinking of is, how does this ship kill the flagship? Like, what problems will it have? Because it's basically the only guaranteed thing in the game you get, the flagship fight.
Yep. I'm trying to think of what weaknesses this... Like, as far as weaknesses, this ship has most everything covered. I think the only thing would maybe be the mind control on phase 3.
Yeah. The fact that all we have is a whole lot of NGs. And a singular mantis, which could make a difference unless the mantis is the one that gets mind controlled.
Yeah, well... But we will definitely be getting a little bit of last-minute scrap here. The last sector has the... If you're able to get any... ship kills and crew kills on this final sector, that's going to be the highest rewards for any scrap or weapons that you can get. But Skip, there's a catch. There's the Zoltan shield, the super shield that phase 3 starts with, that you have to break through first.
Yeah, you can't hack stuff. You can't hack
all the borders.
And the other thing is, even if I could, I would probably just tag shields or engines, because they just help me kill the thing faster, which is ultimately what I'm trying to do.
Indeed. That is very true, though. We will be able to get through the Zoltan shields relatively quickly.
Yeah.
So a couple of last-minute upgrades here before we start heading towards the flagship fight. You'll notice on the jump screen that the flagship is also jumping towards the base. We want to try to avoid. So I don't remember off the top of my head how much HP the...
Flagship?
Oh, you're talking about this ship in particular. No, this one has 16. That's another change between the different difficulties in the game, is that on hard, the flagship is actually slightly harder. The flagship, normally on easy and normal, all of the weapon rooms are separated from the hull of the ship, meaning that if you're able to kill the crew member that's in those weapon rooms, you usually are able to neutralize most of the threats that the flagship throws at you. Not so on hard, because the 2 most dangerous ones, the triple laser shot and the triple missile shot, are connected to the main hull of the ship.
So anyway, we're closing in on the flagship now. If the flagship spends 3 consecutive turns in the base, we're gonna lose, which is why, even though there could be fight and scrap here, I'm just going to beeline to the base so that doesn't happen. We don't just lose by not getting to the base in time.
Yeah.
So even
Not
though...
gonna lie, I thought you were heading straight to the base. I didn't notice that was a beacon. I thought it said base.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna try and get out of this fight as fast as I can. And this is why cloaking is great, because you just saw everything just missed. Well, this is a bit awkward, because I was planning to go to this beacon to fight off all the intruders now, but this beacon's about to be... have an
Overtaken
ASB
by...
here. So this,
Yeah, the rebels for it.
this could get pretty awkward. Yeah,
Well,
now...
as long as the rebels don't start saying, "Oh, hi, Gerald. What are you doing on the ship?"
Yeah. Thankfully, the first phase doesn't board us, so we're safe in that regard.
As long as the NGs don't start getting a PhD in punching, we should be fine.
Yep. There's also a fun thing, you were talking about PhDs, remind me of this, where if your like crew member has gotten skilled in repair, that you know that something's gone badly, because you only get repair XP if you've got lots of damaged systems.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm gonna try and get my crew healed up before the next ASB happens, so I'm at least in somewhat better shape for the flagship fight.
I mean, that said, their ship's not in a great shape either, not gonna lie.
Anyway,
It's on fire.
This is the rebel flagship. Now we see what it hacks and hope it's not weapons. Because if they hack your weapons, then every 20 seconds your weapons just die.
Yeah, our first goal here is, okay, an engine's hack's not great, but it's fine. The first thing with this fight is that the enemy flagship has cloaking, and it has hacking. You want them to hack a system that's not completely terrible. Hacking's not great, or hacking engines isn't great, but it's better than the alternatives. So here we're going to be hacking shields and just shooting down
so we see
missiles.
That its hull is nearly already, like, it's nearly halfway done. Or rather, past halfway done now I look at it again.
The downside of stream delay. I miss the fact that you've already gotten the ship down to half hull. Hull beam is really strong against this ship.
Yeah.
Because of that reason.
So, now we're done.
Well, alright, well, that's phase 1.
Yeah. Phase 1 is the easiest phase. That's a typical
phase
thing.
1, most people will be able to beat it on their first try. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Phase 2 and phase 3 is where things go belly up quickly if you're not careful.
Yeah. For this particular ship, phase 2 should be okay, but phase 3 is where I might struggle a lot.
Yeah, phase 2, what ends up happening is that the flagship starts getting these power surges, which is code for stuff's about to hit the fan. In phase 2, this means that there's going to be a bunch of combat drones and beam drones that are going to be swarming your ships for a certain short amount of time. The best strategy for that is to cloak that. The other tricky part with that is that you will want to... you'll also partially want to cloak the missile shots, but it's better to cloak the drones.
So now we're going to see the hacking exploit where this defense drone over here is shooting a laser towards my hacking drone. But if the hacking drone is depowered, it just soaks the shot and it doesn't get destroyed. So now I repowered it and just got straight past.
Yep, the defense drone is aiming where the hacking drone would have been if it was still powered, but since it basically stopped in midair, it's able to just sneak by. But yeah, cloak is an active ability, and it's a short active ability. It has to be powered up. Now, you'll notice that with this fight already probably done by the time I'm saying this.
Yeah, that's the first drone phase.
So the reason that Monsterracer wanted to fight the flagship at the base was because of its strategy that we might be able to pull off with the third phase, where the base, there's not going to be any enemies trying to fight you here. But with the third phase, with the enemy boarding you, it can be beneficial for you to let all of the enemy fighters board you on this third phase, run away back to the base, kill off all the enemy crew in a safe and secure environment, and then let the flagship come back at you with maybe only 1 or 2 crew members left.
Which is almost definitely what I'm going to be doing now, because I have a ship that's weak against boarding.
Yeah, it's probably this sort of abduction strat, basically sending the rebel crew on a field trip back to the base, is actually a really solid strategy on any difficulty, because it allows you to... It makes the fight a lot easier, especially the enemy.
However, you can't do that if you don't have piloting. Now this is a bit off the rails. Just a bit.
Just a tad.
Now what? Now this is where one of those where even with pause, like, what's happening? Who's doing what? Where am I? Why is there a fire there? Why are they now shooting missiles at me? How did they miss?
This is definitely one of those.
Yeah. Now you see why I might want to be running away as fast as I can.
So we probably will want to just
get the hell out of here.
There might be an advantage to just trying to fight the ship now as well.
There could be, but I'm not gonna risk it.
Safe strats are not fast strats, but they are safe strats.
Because now I don't have to fight an enemy ship while doing this.
So, in all things considered, that wasn't too bad.
Yeah. I didn't take as much damage as I possibly could. Could have.
That poor system repair drone basically just took a beating, though.
Oh yeah, Zetniks. Unfortunately, the Zoltan shield repairs if you jump away, because every time a ship jumps, its Zoltan shield goes all the way back up. Which is slightly unfortunate.
What's also slightly unfair is the fact that the flagship is the only ship in the game that can just regenerate Zoltan shield at a moment's notice, because it's cheap. Well, maybe not cheap, but it's flagship cheats.
So anyway, now I'm going to do the thing that I remembered to, is to put all the crew except the pilot in a system that doesn't really matter, so that if they get mind controlled, I don't need to fight them. Because last time the person that got mind controlled was in the weapons, which was really bad for me because I need the weapons.
Mm-hmm. The reason, because of the mind control setup, there's different strategies here. The strategy of the Monsterracer, good strategy. And other strategies have it so that they're maybe in pairs, or have something to distract the enemy, or the mind-controlled crew member. Like here, the fellow being stuck in drones, that's fine, we don't need drones.
But now he's gone into doors, which also doesn't really matter for me because they've nearly run out of crew. Yeah, they've now only got 1 crew and can't board me anymore, which is nice.
1 is the loneliest number, and 1 is the loneliest crew member.
And as reckless as the flagship people are, they won't try and they won't try and board with their last crew member.
They're suicidal, but they're not dumb. This is definitely probably the unluckiest rebel crew member ever, though.
Yep, he's now gonna have to just sit there.
Think about his life.
Regretting life decisions.
Thought about how he should have taken that vacation to Jupiter last month. So you'll notice that this ship, the flagship, also has, for some reason, a power surge that lets him just shoot out a bunch of lasers. The dodge with the cloak is a huge boost to that. but I think we're getting close to time. Time will, of course, be when the
Yeah, we're
Rebel
getting pretty
flagship
close
goes
there now.
kaboom.
Which will be about now. Time. Good run.
And an hour underestimate.
Well, the thing with the estimate is that the estimate for this game involves me like dying a lot. Because,
Which we died none.
yeah. No, when I was practicing this, sometimes it went really well, like it did now, and sometimes I just couldn't get out of Sector 3 with a good build and just snowballed from there.
And that's how it goes. This is a very swingy game when it comes to RNG.
Yep.
Great job. Great job. GG on the run there. That was impressive. That was impressive to say the least. I was crossing my fingers you get it done on first try, but yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So the next run we're going to have is going to be a race with Castle to win. So we're just bringing us back to the early Windows PC days. It's going to take a little bit longer to set up. We're going to have a little bit longer intermission, but that's okay because we're ahead of schedule. So just want to give the warning on that before we hop to that. Any last words, guys? Anything else to say about FTL?
Well, it's a good game. Go get it.
This is true, and it often comes on sale relatively frequently now, that being out as long as it has. For a lot of the people in the Rogue HQ Discord, this was their first, at least for me at least, it was my first roguelike and what got me into roguelikes in general.
Yeah, this was
So
like the first thing I played close to a roguelike because it kind of has RPG elements with you have to get better stuff and go on a mission to defeat the Rebel flagship, but it's actually a roguelike at its core, really. Everything's
Indeed.
randomized.
And if you want to try speedrunning it, don't speedrun it on hard.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Alrighty.
The credits are really long as there's a lot of testers, so I think I'm just gonna skip this for now. Anyway. Oh wow, that's a clean score. 5,001. Anyways, with that, I think I'm gonna end this stream